So I want to ask you just a little about the Biden administration's recent moves. Immigration has been such a hot topic in the previous administration and even in this one, as the administration has introduced regulations that could push back against giving asylum eligibility to people who come through Mexico to this country. What's your take on this, and broadly how to manage the debate, because you talk so eloquently about your own experience, and how to manage the discussion in this country about immigration?
Um, it comes to the beginning of your conversation, Francis, is the culture, of course, the history of this country, where people came from all over the world and built this country, built America, built communities in America. Is the backbone of this country, right? And you hear this from all sorts of political spectrum. When President Bush asked me if he could paint my picture, and I said, "That's huge. I mean, what is going on here?" And he said, "Well, I value immigration a lot, and I worry about it, that we go to a different direction." And of course, he says it in the most beautiful way. It is very common knowledge and understanding, and it's very firm, that immigration is the fuel for this country, what it is America today. And I have been to the border, right? I've been to, just before pandemic. It was during the pandemic. I'm sorry. I was in Texas, and I was at the border, and I have seen it. And when I say this, I've been to borders before. I've been to Venezuelan Colombian border when the refugees are, passing. I've been to an island where the Syrian refugees passing to the islands to go Greece. And recently, I was in Poland and in a border when the Ukrainians were passing. A year ago, when the invasion started. It's always tragedy in that border. And when I saw in Texas, it's something that needs to be stopped. It needs to be prevented. The human tragedy is in the highest place. So I am not going to sit here and say, "Hey, let's, get people through the borders and, let this continue." I think there's something needs to be happening, and it's both sides of the borders. This experience needs to be humane, controlled, and planned. And I think what Vice President has done with starting the Central America initiatives, which I have been part of, creating businesses to go to the areas where most of the problems are economic, and create an environment that there's hope for them, not unplanned leaving. This harsh travel can be controlled. And I think within like 2 years, getting hundreds of companies committing an enormous amount of investments, and it's a good thing for business as well. You can see every time that you bring business community a part of this kind of initiatives, there's a fast solution can come. And I think I love this, visa solution that they brought, that they can be controlled visa coming in. Now, I come from Idaho. I have a large factory in Idaho. Chobani has a large factory in upstate New York. And I'll give you from the Idaho perspective. Vast majority of farm workers in Idaho are undocumented immigrants. So there is this reality that there is need for workforce, right? I mean, if you eliminate that reality, there will be no milk, there will be no potatoes. That's just reality. And so there is a need, there is this crisis, and there is a way that we can make this, in a more humane way. I think from the large perspective, from the refugee perspective, there's a tradition of America is receiving refugees for years and years and years. I mean, the last 4 years has been, it was postponed, or it was hold, I guess say. That's more like UNHCR, registered refugees, and then there is this background checks for years and years, and then the people arrive, and when they arrive, they have right to work. And it's a very controlled, planned experience, other than what happened with the Afghan refugees that arrive in a very quick way, and then the Ukrainian refugees arrive quick way. This process is really, really planned and more calm way that it happens. So I think the border situation and the refugee program are two different things, and we have to look at it from both perspective. What I say is, every time you look at things, it's not I'm against it, I'm for it. I think it's deeper understanding is extremely needed, and then there's a way to make this more humane and both for border and people who are passing, or people who are affecting on the other side.